I received love from my family. They loved me. They did love me, but it was mixed with so many things
Mm.
that were putting hooks into the love. I'll love you if this. And it's very important for people to realize that you're gonna constantly shift. Some things might stay the same, like where you get your water from, which I totally agree with. I love that one. That might stay the same, but what your body's asking for might change every single month.
Sun is coming up, are you ready to go? We can take a ride, we can take it slow. Yeah.
Well, welcome back to the Road to Self-Love. Today I'm joined by Madelyn Moon. Oh my goodness, you're finally here.
I'm here. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for bringing me along.
So my personal belief is that self-love is the devotion to your individuality. What
Mm.
makes you you? So I'd love to know, what makes you you? How do you want to be known by the people? And, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
I don't consciously think about this every single day of like, this is what I'm doing. But I realize that one of my missions here in this modern day world is to help redefine what purity is. Like what really is purity within your own relationship to the divine, within your relationship to your body, with your relationship to your beloved. What is pure, what is impure, and learning how to create your totally radical new set of beliefs around making everything that's quote impure really beautiful and pure and devotional.
You said so much, and I was just like, okay, great. She's speaking directly to me. I've been like growing through this intense skin issue that I've really had to look at through that lens, of just like, this is happening for me. It's allowing me to stop ignoring my body and really tap into what it needs. And it has been such a journey. So I'm curious, just for selfish reasons, like, how do you navigate through things that from an external point or really don't feel great or good, or like, why, when you're like, why is this happening to me? Like, what would you say? What would you do?
Such a good question. So I have had so many interesting, I feel very, very fortunate, very able-bodied. There are people who have chronic conditions, and I've had many things that have happened with my skin and my body that have been really challenging. So I've been using, I don't want to come on here and talk about deities because I'm really starting to cultivate my own relationship with Hindu deities very deeply, and it's very personal. And yet there is one, I will say, I'll let everyone go do their own research because it's really been serving me. There is a beautiful lesser known deity called Matangi in Hindu culture. And Matangi is here to show us how to worship the divine through what is quote impure.
I'm really interested to know, how you got into the dance between the masculine and the feminine, and also if you can break down the difference between the two for us, because this is like a big question that I get a lot. It's like, well, because I feel like a lot of us are pushed to live in our masculine, especially to survive, quote unquote, in this day and age. And there's, so I could talk about that forever, but I'm just curious. Go.
Go. Okay, great. Well, where did I discover this? I've been working with masculine and feminine energy probably about 6 years, which doesn't seem that long when I say it out loud, but it feels like a very long time. And I started, so the lineage that I have the most experience with, there's like the one that I've been really practicing as of late is from, the Shakti and Shiva Hindu aspect of feminine and masculine, which is actually pretty much the same as, let's say, the David Data lineage. He wrote the book, The Way of the Superior Man.
How do people start noticing that they're not in balance with these non-actions, the masculine and the feminine?
I would say I would firstly say that there is no balance, really. That's an idea that there is some kind of place that you need to be at. And where I'm at with my feminine and masculine, let's say, is much more grounded than where I was, well, even like a week ago. Because a week ago, I was in a lot of like, when I pull my hair out. So it's really like shifting. It shifts a lot. And the perspective of Tantra is that no matter what you are, no matter what, like the impurity with Matangi, no matter what, it's perfect. No matter what, it's perfect.
So on the road, we always play some road trip games. And I just drew a card from the We're Not Really Strangers Healing Edition. And the card, I'm going to ask this question and both you and I get to answer it. And I'm really excited to hear what yours is. But what does self-care look like for you? Get specific.
Ooh, this is great because I just had a call with my teacher yesterday and we went through this. So It's really fresh on my mind. Yeah. So self-care, getting specific. First thing for me is, I'm just going to let whatever, it might not be the most profound answers, but whatever comes through today, it's the combination of what we talked about with my teacher yesterday and what's coming through today. So number one is sacred space. Like I have to have my candle. I have to have lots of candles and my altar objects and plants and tons of sheepskins and just making as many corners in my home as just devotional and sacred and beautiful as possible. That is self-care to me, for sure.
I love that because, you shared like a whole gamut of experiences that aren't necessarily categorized as self-care to some. And so it's like, I'm excited for your share to be expansive for people who are listening to the show. Because we talk a lot about the difference between self-love and self-care here. And a lot of people think that self-care is self-love, and it's really not. And you really get to infuse the gratitude, the mental and emotional connection, which is the self-love, to the physical act of self-care. So if you're listening to this, try out some of the things that Madelyn is sharing. For me, self-care is definitely my daily routine involves some sort of movement. I'm very cerebral and I constantly have to push myself back into my body or I become a disaster, a hot mess. So doing a spin class or lifting weights or going for a walk is a non-negotiable for me almost every single day. And self-care looks like nourishment. It looks like really being conscious of where I get my water from, where I get my food from. These are really important aspects for me. And then I too love a good oil. We love a face skincare routine moment. And as of late, getting my nails done is the most powerful version of self-care because just looking at the colors, I just got them done yesterday, colors of my, thanks. I just found out that one of them on each nail are glow in the dark because I was just in spin class.
What?
Anyway, yeah, I was like, oh, they're glow in the dark. But just because I can look at them every single day and it brings me back to that moment. It brings me back to joy. So I feel like that's the best type of self-care when it's just consistently showing up every single day for me. So that's more basic self-care for me. And you can notice, sweet self-lovers, that our self-care routines are very different, Maddie and myself, and just witness that that's okay, right? There's no need to look at my routine or Madelyn's routine and make yourself wrong for not having some of those things, right? So it's just, if it's coming up for you, just notice it, slow down. Where's that coming from?
Yeah, I love what you shared about what you do. And it's very important for people to realize that you're gonna constantly shift. some things might stay the same, like where you get your water from, which I totally agree with. I love that one. That might stay the same, but what your body's asking for might change every single month. And I know that sounds like super basic to say, like, oh, it might change, but really it does. It's very challenging for some people to actually let certain practices fall to the wayside without feeling guilty for it.
And it sounds like we've gotten away from that because we want to simplify everything. And at the same time, like we're making it so much harder for ourselves by resisting the evolution of our own daily needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Was there ever a time where you really struggled giving yourself permission to evolve? And how did you get through that?
Yeah, when I was raised in a very, very conservative upbringing in Southern Baptist Texas. And there was a lot of just really dark, insidious, you can't really see it shit. Just like love was not, now I understand what love is at the age of 30. I mean, I started to understand it when I was 27, and I received love from my family. They loved me. They did love me, but it was mixed with so many things that were putting hooks into the love. I'll love you if this.
Thank you for sharing all of that. It's so beautiful. I could just talk to you forever. I tend to want to be best friends with every single one of my guests, but for real, wish we were besties. Really just enjoy your energy and grateful for your shares. So I want to start wrapping things up because I know that you've got things to do. You're very important around here in the world. So I just have a couple of more questions for you. And this is a question that I ask every single person on the road. What does self-love mean to you?
Ultimate love and trust in the divine. Really, I think, because loving the self is loving the divine. It's the same thing. Loving the divine is loving the self to the divine. So when I love myself, I respect my temple. I'm respecting the greatest temple.
Speaking of making that difference, if people are just casually obsessed with you, how can people work with you? What is your favorite way to show up with and serve?
If you're casually obsessed with me, you can come to madelynmoon.com. That's my website. And I'm on Instagram all over at Madelyn Moon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It sounds to me like my biggest takeaway is really that everything about us is right and true in that moment. And we can learn and grow and be taught by ourselves daily. And why resist that? Because you are your own greatest teacher.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Maddie, and we'll see you next time on the road to self-love.